Hello. I don't know if you can hear me. I forgot to put my microphone on. Let me plug in here. But no. Okay. So today we're talking about PTSD, that nasty syndrome that pretty much everybody on earth has, in my opinion. But it's a matter of degree. So we're talking about post traumatic stress disorder. Post-traumatic stress disorder. I guess I could have wrote that down for you, but I've written some of the resources I want to talk about over in the chat. And first off, let's talk about the different types of PTSD that can happen. Um, it it can be, the acute type where it's an event. It can be a natural disaster, and it can be with the situation that we're in right now. That's more chronic. um, but an acute event like a car accident, it's a single event that can leave you with pretty severe symptoms, and most everybody these days in America has been in some kind of um, collision, if not multiple times, at least once. So I remember when I first started driving, I backed into a pole and I had symptoms of whiplash just from that. And it didn't show up on the first day. The symptoms showed later. Actually, that is a type of post traumatic stress disorder that's mainly in the body, but the body is connected with the mind because there's a release of adrenaline and a host of hormones like cortisol, um, that affect your mind, that get your heart racing, and so there is generational post-traumatic stress disorder from events like the Trail of Tears that the Native Americans faced. Um, so that and that that is a cultural trauma, and then it gets passed down, that trauma, just like people were in the depression. That was more of a acute or a chronic trauma, because it's kind of like this pandemic or the things that are going on with society. It is a chronic, over a period of time, um, trauma. And trauma is just when the ability to cope is overwhelmed. So we all have this kind of line that we gravitate to, this middle line of between relaxation, total relaxation and calmness, to excitement and just overwhelm of the body mind system to cope. And it's, so you can see it kind of like a sine wave going above and below that line. And the thing is that neither neither uh, too much relaxation or too much excitement is what we really thrive in. Some people thrive more, a little bit more, in the excitement area, and some people like a life that they'll get stressed if their overall levels exceed, like a very uh, low stress level. Some people need have a very low kind of homeostasis line, if you will. So we're each different, as a, according to what we can tolerate. And what is stressful to one person will not be stressful to another. And that's kind of conditioned in our childhood a lot of times. So we're so varied. But one thing that's really wonderful is that all creatures, and especially humans, were evolved, created to to thrive with certain amounts of trauma. If we were not uh, biologically attuned or created to, don't get stuck on that word, please, but it constructed in such a way that we didn't evolve because of stress and trauma, we would be extinct. So we have actually systems within ourselves that causes us to hello causes us to become stronger uh, when we overcome the trauma. And so this is really good news. So remember the saying that says, yes, remember the saying that says, it goes like, and excuse me if I butcher a cliche here because I normally do, but it basically says that what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Well, that is true in if you know how to overcome the trauma. If you do indeed overcome the trauma, you will actually become stronger. And just to prove this point, um, there was some kind of experiment done with ducklings, and the control group was, some ducklings that were. It doesn't take. I've heard it doesn't take much to stress them out, create a certain amount of trauma for them just by holding them or something. It can create lots of trauma for them, and so there was two groups of the ducklings, and both of them were stressed. And I don't know how that. Don't ask me how this experiment was, um, proof for, approved by PETA or anything, but so the stressed, both the groups are stressed. One group was allowed to release that stress in the way animals normally do. And animals will often, you've seen it, when they get stressed, they will literally shake it off. You've seen dogs just, not just when they're wet, but they will actually, if something bothers them, watch your animals next time. If they're not too domesticated, they will tremor or they'll shake. They shake their head from head to toe, and they literally reset their neurological system and shake it off. Um, their skin can shake. You've seen little chihuahuas; they're just shaking. Well, that's actually them releasing trauma, not incurring trauma. They're actually releasing trauma. So don't stop your pets from shaking. Make one is stop what's stressing them out, but don't stop them from shaking. Actually, um, so but this one group of ducklings was one group was uh, they stopped it from shaking, and both groups, they were timed in their swimming abilities. They were, how long they could swim without seemingly getting tired. And when the group that was uh, not allowed to release its stress was put back in the water, those ducklings sank. They couldn't swim. They of course rescued them, but they couldn't uh, swim anymore. They lost the ability. It was reduced ability to stay afloat and to swim. Well, I think they do float because they're feathers, but I think that they said that they started to lose their capacity to float. If somebody can find a link to this research, that would be great to post it. Anyway, the group that was allowed to release its stress by shaking um, actually had increased swimming capacity. So that's one little example. They were able to swim longer and stronger. So if somebody can please find that research, that would be terrific. Um, that shows how we are actually created to adapt and increase our ability to survive. This is great news. And I want to tell you, I'm not just talking off the top of my head. I'm a master level social worker. I've worked in the addictions field. I'm an retired addiction specialist. And also, I'm certified under the Dr. Berselli method of trauma release exercise. So we've had to do some studying and some training in this. And also, I've got my degree that talks about that. So anyway, this is all good news. What I wanted to the resources I listed, and this is dedicated to Rebecca and Sonia and Sarah, who are you people who are writing in, you great people who are going through so much in regard to this situation, and you've just heard about the uh, you know the the new legal structures that are going to um, potentially, yank people out of their homes. That's what's just making everybody so frightened. Um, it's important that you relieve the stress as it comes in, and I can tell you a few ways to do this. Okay, I've had to do it too, as I told you. If some of you know my story, um, you will know that I have been through severe stressors in my life with what my children went through, and I had years of recovery to do that. But I can tell you what greatly accelerated my ability to recover, which was I went to an Eastern he was counseling, but it was by Eastern methods, um, and so he required meditation, and meditation became one of the first healing methods that I used, and I did formal meditation, and up out of that rose so much trauma that many sessions initially just ended in tears and tears and tears and tears for quite a while. I would just meditate by myself. Thank goodness I had the house, to myself, and places to myself to do that. So meditation, formal meditation, is huge. Um, if you can get beyond guided meditation, even, but doing guided is also helpful. But formal meditation is great. Um, and make that, with candles, incense, and the whole thing. I think I've got a video a long time ago about how to set your space up. The other thing is I also use the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, and I had a sponsor. I had somebody that I could go to that I trusted, and I also had the counselor. And I was going to these things, like, I was talking to this sponsor several times a week, and I was talking to this counselor at least once a week at this time in my life. And so it's important to have somebody you can talk to. Um, and I also work through the 12 steps. Now, I did the steps a little differently. I viewed them a little differently, and that I viewed them, that we use them for this trauma specifically. So, um, so I want to, you'll see right over in the chat section, right over here, um, I have I have written a book a lot about these kind of things, and I think it's time in this day and age. I'm sorry, if somebody can't afford it, write me, and I'll give you a digital copy, okay? But it's pretty cheap on Amazon, and it has a workbook, and I've written that for spiritual awakening. So anything that stands in your way, I have a call coming in. I don't know if you all can hear that. So this book is written for anybody that um, is is facing something that gets in the way of self-actualization. And certainly we're in a situation where we feel like we're in a concentration camp, and we are, I hate to tell you, in a diluted camp, Um, it's a very big camp with the same principles, though, unfortunately. And so many of us are waking up to this fact, and it's not a theory anymore. Come on, really? So, if any of you think it is, time to smell the coffee. Okay. But when you're waking up to it, waking up to these things can be traumatic. So, if you want a copy of the Rainbow Gates, it's on Amazon. The workbook is on Amazon. If you can't afford it, write me. Okay. And, maybe we can work out something else. So, I also want to mention Byron Katie's work. If you want, it's in the chat right here. It's at thework.com. She's got some fabulous material that will help you reinterpret what's going on. Byron Katie, fabulous material. Also, my book is Realizing Emerald City, and it comes, and there's also the 12 Rainbow Gates workbook that comes with it. Also, I want to mention, and now it's on YouTube, is a trauma release exercise where you don't have to do any counseling, you don't have to do talking. It is about the body's mechanisms of release and what is innate in us and how to utilize it. It's so fabulous. I'm certified in it, and not that I'm necessarily doing classes, but if I might. Of course, it would be online at this time. So, but from what I understand, they just now released, you can go and look at the steps on how to do it. If you need more help than that, then, contact me or I can talk to you about it. I think my contact information is through, you can go to my Facebook page. But this is a way, there's so many ways to release trauma, which is so fabulous, that we have so many ways. Music, sacred music, um, the trauma, the yoga is fabulous. I went and learned yoga. Um, trauma informed yoga. Look, you can look for a teacher for that. Um, and that can help tremendously to start processing this work. Remember, there are 5 stages to grief, and please, that's in another video. I'm not going to go into that here, but there's 5 stages. Amongst see, denial is probably I think the first one. Anger, bargaining, um, acceptance, and there's one more. List that down below. So, really, there's so much to be hopeful for. I know that you guys are just freaking out about, the latest of what the Britain has said, about, people can be taken from their homes. Um, this too shall pass. This too shall pass. And we will find a way to overcome this. Plus, we're still talking about practical, real world solutions. And I've got some things that I can't really talk about. I've been told like I really shouldn't talk about until I know more about it. So I'm going to go with that, but just hold the faith that there is solutions to this and we will find it. Keep the faith that we will, because that's a big part of trusting and have your spiritual guidance in place. Do your meditation. So when you take your concerns to your higher power, to your guardian angel, to that higher guide that's not incarnate. If you can see him, that's not your higher guide. um, they have an eagle-eye view of what you're going through, and so they can guide you through this matrix. I have been guided around so many obstacles, so many, and I continually to get them thrown at me. I've got one right now, but see it all as guidance. They may mean it for evil, but God or your higher power means it for good. Okay, remember that. They may mean it for evil, but this is all ultimately for your good. And believe me, I know it's hard to believe right now, but I have been through it with my children. I had them taken for 9 years. Okay, while terrible things are being done to them. I know. I know what you're going through, mothers and fathers. I know what you're going through. So it's you have to believe in your children's spirit also. Believe in them and know that they are great beings that have their own guardians. And that's part of what we must learn. It's hard. It's a hard, jagged pill. But I believe in you. I know you have it. Stand in faith while relieving your own overwhelm by some of these methods that I've given you. If you know some other methods, please comment about it. Please write below. Please help my videos get out there too. We need these videos out there. I'm going to have some more practical solutions. Hopefully coming up. I have talked to some judges recently who, and I'm talking to some more. Hopefully they can get on with me shortly after I learn how to do this to get them on here and interview them. But remember, Ho'oponopono also, Ho'oponopono, look at that in the number 2 video, why, and why we must forgive. It is how we can ensure the ultimate victory of our families and our children especially. Okay, we must let go of the need to control and punish others, and instead wait on the miracle. Command the miracle. Okay, because it can be done, and it is. And if it's not being done every day, miracles should be happening every day, and that's what this channel is about. Okay, sisters, brothers, mothers, fathers, blessings, blessings. Keep the faith. Stay strong. Much love.